Hello, everyone, on Intuition of the Soul, Optimizer, the Lion is Collective, where you actually happen to be watching this or anywhere that someone's shared this. I am so excited today. I'm here with the amazing, talented, blessed friend, I think of her as Susan Kennard, and we're here to talk about her book. On Intuition of the Soul, we're going to be doing a book study. I actually think, Susan, you could like teach a course over and over and over on this. It is the most amazing book. Okay, and mine's going to have all these little things sticking out of it. It actually doesn't show up very well online, does it?
No, I wonder if I can get mine might be a bit clearer because I've got the hardback here, but
A little bit clearer. It's
a little bit
beautiful
clearer.
colors. Awaken it, awaken the light within your heart. It is available paperback, hardback, Kindle, and also on Audible. I have it on Audible, Kindle, and in this paperback. So, I Susan came on to Intuition of the Soul. It's a little more than a year ago now, and
Yeah.
she was in the process of the book had been channeled, and she was working on it and putting it together. And she had just actually been awarded the publishing, and we were so excited. We're like, "You're going to come back! You're going to come back and talk about it." Here
Yes, I
we are.
remember. I
Here we
remember.
are. So,
Mm.
anyway, can you tell us just a little bit about yourself and how this book came to be? And it is the most, for me personally, anyone who knows me knows there's not much flattering I do, but it has been an awakening. I'm going to cry just in this
Oh.
transition. We are sitting here at a very important month, March of 2023, if you happen to be watching it. And we're just before the Saturn into Pisces, just before Pluto going into Aquarius. And both of us know as astrologers, this is huge time. So I'm so
Yeah.
blessed today. And by the way, we have a sextile with the sun in Pisces and Uranus today, and you would be my physical reward that showed up that
Oh,
we've been
well,
working
ditto
on.
to that. Ditto to that. Thank you so much. I mean, where do I start? I suppose the best place to start is my spiritual awakening when I was about 27. So coming up to my first Saturn return. And it was a definite spiritual awakening because a beautiful friend of mine who was previously a boyfriend took his life. And it was around about that time that, I was really young, obviously. I'm much older now. And it was one of those situations where it's like the rug being pulled from under your feet. However, the key spiritual awakening piece, and it is actually a little bit in my book about this, is when I got visited in the night, and that led me to through a series of different events, led me to want to know more about spirit. And even though I resisted it for a very long time, I ended up understanding that we were so much more than just this physical body. And at the time this all happened, I was studying to be, I was doing my degree in psychology and my postgraduate in psychotherapy. And so I was very much science based, I was very much evidence based. And at that time, I was resisting a big time, really kind of understanding that we were more than a physical body and a mind. But my soul knew it. I didn't know it, but my soul knew it. And that led me. So, Martin taking his life actually led me to awaken, to train at the College of Psychic Studies, understand about mediumship, understand about who we truly are. And that was the start, I would say, of, I mean, we have many awakenings. I have a podcast called The Spiritual Awakener where I interview people about their awakenings, but actually we have many. But I would say that that was one of the pivotal ones. And that led me to really go on this parallel journey of living, working as a medium on the platforms in London, giving evidence of survival, and working in child protection, um, with drugs and alcohol and domestic abuse. And I was like living this double life because in those days you just didn't talk about it. You
Oh, no.
definitely didn't
No.
tell someone you spoke to dead people. And that's a joke, by the way, because obviously
Yes.
we don't die. But it was what was kind of, it was taboo. I mean, obviously now we can talk about it, but then you just wouldn't talk about it. And you certainly wouldn't if you worked for local authority as a trauma specialist, because, would have been frowned upon.
It would
And
have
so that was
undermined your
journey.
credibility in those days. And I don't think
Yeah,
younger people understand that. It wasn't just a matter of I didn't see it. Somebody would try to medicate it, give me a diagnosis, do all of those
yeah.
things.
Well, they
So it,
still do that. They still
yeah,
do
well,
that.
they do still do that. But at
Yeah.
least now I can go find some other people who, uh, you can talk about. So that was it was, and you really did come from, which I find amazing. You talk about this in the beginning of the book, this very
Mm,
analytical mind that wanted to be proven. You knew underneath, you had a knowing, but prove this
mm.
to me, prove this to me.
And I'm always like that. To be honest, I'm a channel with the Galactics and so on, and I do light language, all sorts of stuff. But I am always, especially with my galactic crystal healing chambers, I'm always saying, okay, prove it to me. So I have a membership, it's my soul family, and they test everything out. So before I put anything out to the world, I test it out with my members. So I'm still a scientist. I'm still the scientist. I'm known as a spiritual scientist. So I am still the scientist, but I am the channel as well, the spiritual part of it. And so I kind of like that combination. I think it's quite cool.
That's actually how I found you
Yes.
originally, is I follow a spiritual quantum physicist named Nassim Haramein.
Mm,
And I was talking to a mutual friend of ours about
yeah.
how I love having a scientist who has a background. She goes, well, have you ever heard of Susan Kennard? I'm like, why, no. So that's exactly how I found you. Because
Yeah.
I do believe I
Mm,
had a book in my life. So books are amazingly important to me. Um,
mm.
that somebody, I'm not exaggerating, for 35 years, I had 7 different copies handed to me and said, you should read this. And then I
Oh,
finally read it, and one of it was the Celestine Prophecy. And one
yes.
of the
Yes.
things that they talk about is that
Mm,
exactly what you're talking about. We need scientists to do this.
yeah. Yeah.
So,
I think, yeah, it's interesting because I know before I was in the media, I stepped into the media not meaning to. And in fact, everything I do, I don't mean to do really, just kind of happens upon me. But essentially, I had a practice in Harley Street in London, and Harley Street is renowned for the kind of like doctors, but there is an end of Harley Street called Number 10 Harley Street, and it is where all the holistic practitioners are. And to be in Harley Street, you kind of need to have a background where you can give evidence that you've trained, you've qualified, and you've got all the things you need. Anyway, what happened from that, having that practice there, which I kind of hid behind being a psychologist, to be honest, because even though I channeled spirit and I could see into the body and I was working with all my clients, I kind of didn't tell them. And then what happened was I got interviewed because I was in Harley Street, and there was a program. There was a BBC Two program over here, which is what I call kind of like TV that most people watch here. And I was interviewed because I had a practice in Harley Street, and it was called Make Me Well in Harley Street. Okay. And that was the start of my media career, being on television and being interviewed by a lot of things, a lot of avenues, a lot of areas. And that led to newspapers and, deemed the psychic therapist. It's still in the Daily Mail online now. And, people still say to me, oh, I read that article about you. This was like 6, 7 years ago. And I was on daytime TV with this woman called Lorraine Kelly. And those people in the UK that might hear this will know who I mean. And I still get people saying to me, if I'm on a plane or something, they'll say, I'm sure I recognize you from somewhere where you are. And I was on for literally 2 minutes. And so it just goes to show that, how these things open up for you. And I think the reason, going back to what you were saying about credibility, I think the reason why I was interviewed and given that opportunity is because of my background.
mhm.
And I think that in those days, let's say 7, 6, 7 years ago, you had to have that. to have any voice for others if you were a spiritual teacher or, a spiritual guide for people. You had to have that. Whereas now it's great because actually aligning to your mission, aligning to this beautiful ascension pathway that we're on, you don't need that. You know, you just need to be fully aligned to your true purpose and your true mission. And that allows you to step out and really share your message with the world. And that's actually what I take my members to. So
Well,
help them,
and
yeah,
you
to
do
do that.
address it in the book,
I
so
do.
many amazing things about false prophets. And what
Yeah, well, the guides do. I
the
mean,
guides do,
basically,
yes.
the second section, as you very well know, because you know it inside out now, I is channeled. So the whole second section of my book is channeled from my team of guides, and so quite a lot of it I don't remember because it was channeled so purely through me that when I read it and started to edit it with other editors as well, but I was like, I don't remember writing that. And so when you said about false prophets, I do remember that little bit. I do remember it. But what did I actually say about that? Or what
Well,
did
you
they say about it?
what they said is they are arising. This is a part of the
Yes.
journey to be listening to your own soul and your own what
Yeah.
resonates and what doesn't resonate. And
Yeah.
when false prophets, one of the things they offer is a way. And it's very clear in this book, Awaken the light in your heart, which is we're going to go into that next. The whole heart,
Mm.
it's so beautiful. Is that's where they're talking to us. That's where they wanted to talk to us. And so when you
Yeah.
listen, even with a false prophet, you follow those feelings. And someone who gives you the um, kind of this is the way to go. That's what they talked about. That's not listening from love when there's judgments and one way to be there.
Yes.
And I read that
Yeah.
and thought, that is just a confirmation for that time when you get that niggling, this isn't for me or something's off,
Yeah,
to
I
go with
agree with you. And that's an excellent, really good point because I think, it doesn't matter whether it's false prophets or whoever it is, but it's any book you read, you take from it what you feel resonates with you and you throw the rest out. Anyone that talks to you about, and I definitely, whenever I teach or whenever I hold in my groups, I always say, this is what I feel. This is
it.
what I'm feeling. This is what you feel what's right for you. And it's really about empowering people to make their own choices about things. And the same as healing, really healing ourselves. There's no holy grail, is there, Kitty? The holy grail is within. And, finding facilitators and those that can assist us in our healing journey is really important, but they are not the healers. We are the healer of our own experience. And that's
This,
what the guides want to say a lot. And I think they came across really well with that in the book,
oh,
actually.
it's beautifully, especially from the channel, um,
Mhm.
a lot of pause, a lot. I am now forever um,
Pausing for
so
a moment.
for pausing and putting my hands on my heart for solving all issues. You know,
Yeah.
the Holy Grail is the journey.
Yes.
The chalice is
Yeah.
what we arrive at to drink from and
Yeah.
build, but it is the journey to get there. And
Yeah.
so, and the journey is right through the heart. So, I mean, I'm looking at the quote I wrote down from chapter 5 from the guides. We want you to remember that with the knowledge that you hold infinite power and you can heal any part of your energy at any time. Um, and, you know, that was so important because it's about the body, but it's the body is what's very apparent to me in this, had a lot of synchronicities with other things I was doing, is so much the part of all of those levels, physical,
Yeah.
auric, and all of and that the ego, the idea of the ego and that whole idea of the rainbow energy to your heart, so that
Mm.
the ego is compassion. This year personally, I picked words for the year, guidance was one, but the one that kept coming up that I fought, and I found some explanations in here about my resistances, was word compassion.
Compassion.
And they wanted me to take the word, and I was very, why I'm a compassionate robot. and it was about self-compassion. And
Absolutely. Mm.
that was the first piece. And it starts with, if you'll talk to us about it, the hand on the heart. That is channeled all the way through. Can you
I-
kind of,
yeah, I think the guys, I'm just going to, I'm going to find a piece. I feel really drawn to read maybe one line or something, or a couple
okay.
of lines, um, which I don't normally do, but I just feel that. So, guides, which bit would you feel is right? Okay, okay, okay. Well, we'll do this bit. Um,
There are
so,
no accidents.
no, 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 no.
There are no accidents.
So they're drawing me to this little couple of lines. There is no separation. Everything you may have been told about religion, about your body, about your mind, is another's perception of reality. You always knew, you truly always knew the answers, as your body was talking to you. It was your job to listen, your job to hear what your cells are telling you. As you read this, you are receiving an activation of your cells. Your DNA is lighting up, and you are remembering more of who you truly are.
Absolutely perfect. Uh, you know,
That was what
that,
I was guided to.
well, and what I take away, and one reason I really would like to do a in-depth book study for with folks that would want to do this is this whole idea that my separation were things literally I misunderstood. The concept of fear was forgetting that everything, not just that it was all right, but it was a break in that energetic body. Can you speak a little bit to that? That was
I
amazing.
can. Yeah, I can. And because really that's kind of like my life's work. The processes that are in the third section of the book were born from working in trauma, and a lot with veterans with PTSD. And what I found, and I stumbled upon this, which is all my work, but I stumbled upon a trend with them. And as we did, there's a particular process called the emotional wall in my book, and it's a really powerful process, and it accesses the first time that we felt disconnected to source.
Mhm.
And the early days of working with veterans, it was many years ago, but I solidly worked with them for 4 years and doing these kind of processes with them. And they were born from then. They were like, they were given to me so that because the veterans had told everyone their story so many times, they did not want to do that again. So I had to find ways to work with them where I didn't need to know anything. So we did these processes, and what happened was the PTSD, post traumatic stress, traumatic situations that they were experiencing, when we did these processes, they actually accessed those parts that actually seeded the PTSD, even though they had been diagnosed on, for war trauma. Actually, they were not from, that was not from war trauma. And of course, we know that, we were a frequency and we're a frequency match. So, of course, what they'd experienced early on, and of course, it was before this lifetime, but just talking about this lifetime for the sake of the processes for inner child. And what it did was it went back to the place where the child, our child self in this lifetime, first triggered that feeling that they were doing it all on their own.
Mhm.
Fascinating, because what happened was their PTSD symptoms were no longer there after doing this work. And it was like, wow. And then I noticed that they started to say, oh my goodness, I know why I wasn't meant to die that day. I know why I'm meant to be doing this in the world. And their whole spiritual awareness was awakened because they no longer felt separated from source. And I didn't use those words. I didn't use separated from source. I just worked with them on their trauma. And it went back to those points of fear, which you just spoke about, and
Mhm.
how those walls are put up where, there are heart walls. And when we no longer have our heart walls, then we don't have anything in the way of our abundance, of our freedom, and more importantly, why we're here, our true mission in life. And that really to me is fundamentally what the fear place is false evidence appearing real because it's never real, but also it's just those places that have left us with a wall saying there's no way I can possibly do that. There's no way it's safe to move forward, or I'll just stay here because it feels familiar. And when we don't have those, there's that feeling of, my goodness, I've always wanted to work with animals. I've always wanted to, travel the world. I've always wanted to help people with their emotions, whatever it might be. Yeah, whatever it might be, it will draw that person to why they're truly here.
To
So that's
remember their
kind
light.
to
I re
remember the light within their heart.
Right, to
Absolutely.
remember the light within in their heart. And
Yeah.
that was so powerful for me as I looked at the processes in the book, and for people to understand, Susan gives us a background, and then she has the channeled piece, but then she has a whole toolkit. I mean,
Mm,
I'm an astrologist. I believe astrology is our toolkit. It's our energies. And she has a whole process in the back of the book that you can go to, because one of the things I do know from the science background that I have studied is that the brain, the ego and the brain, establishes those patterns, and where that split is, we find evidence to keep that wall building and try and make it
exactly.
stronger. And once you see that you unhook the pattern, the
Mm,
wall tumbles.
disappears. Yeah.
It
And
does.
that's key because we do. I mean, I trained in psychotherapy, psychology, neuropsychology, everything. The thing is, you can talk until the cows come home,
Yes.
but that's an English expression, I think.
We
But
have here too till the cows
you
come
have it there
home.
too.
Yeah.
But you can keep talking, but the thing is that only soothes. That doesn't get to the cellular frequency of what we're holding in our vibration. And that to me is key. That's a science piece as well. But if you think of Bruce Lipton, and cell biologist and, the biology of belief, I really love Bruce Lipton. And so, essentially talking about the biology of belief within your cells. Well, that's it. We hold all of this trauma within our cellular structure. So
Yes.
somehow we have to access that trauma, that cellular perception of the world. And those processes, which I feel very honored and blessed that I was given, are fifth dimensional and higher now, higher frequency processes that really access those points. And actually,
Yeah.
funny enough, you said to me, whether you said it to me when we were on air recording or whether it was before, but you said, I really feel this book could be a course. Funny enough, I actually did teach that course for a long, long time, for many years. And I have just got international accreditation under a body, beautiful. I'll launch it later on, but so that I can actually train people and certificate them in those processes to use them with their clients. And that I'm so excited about, but it's also going to be a self-help course. So it's not only going to be for people who want to take it further, but it's also for people to really come on the course and actually do this inner work for themselves.
I'm
So
so,
I'm really excited about it.
and I did
Yeah.
not say this to her, but I'm going to say it to her on air, was when I said that, I think it was before, about this being a course, because I
Oh,
said I would like to be certified in this course.
oh.
And because I
Well,
see, yes,
literally, it was
literally.
about a month ago, and I haven't told any, told anyone apart from my assistant. And essentially, I wanted to find a body that I felt was really spiritually aware, but that was
Mhm.
international, that was recognized all over the world, because I wanted, because I work internationally, and I wanted to feel that absolutely anybody could choose, if they wanted to choose to do this accreditation. And I'll be teaching it live. We'll be doing it live. Yeah, it's not going to be, It's not going to be pre-recorded. The accreditation part's not pre-recorded. So essentially, I'll be teaching live, and I wanted it to be for people in all walks of life all over the world. And so I finally found an accrediting body, and it was through hoops. I had to go through quite a few hoops to get there, but I found it, and I am under that body now. So I'm just working with it and looking at
Well,
what the timing will be, and it
put
will
me on
be
the list.
there.
Because I really, when I said that to you, this could be a course, and the second thought in my head that did not come out of my mouth is, and I would want to be accredited, because one of the things why I wanted to have Susan come on and talk about it even before we set up the book study, and to encourage people again to buy Awaken the Light Within Your Heart, is what I do know about brain research, and some of the things that I have done is things like emotions only need 90 seconds to be released. But because of that break you're talking about in that unified field of light, which is my next question for you, um, we don't see that that was a pattern. We've made that be what we measure
Absolutely.
everything against,
Hmm.
right? And
Yeah.
we learn that I just need to feel this for 90 seconds, and if I don't assign it, it can leave my body. What an amazing tool, but you give
Yeah.
tools to do that. That's a
Hmm.
concept, but how do you do that? And first of all, it's a very simple one. You almost every process here starts with put your hands on your heart, call
Yeah.
attention to where your soul meets your
Yeah.
body.
So we have a
And
recipe, and actually I teach this in my channeling class as well. But the recipe is we always create a sacred space. We always ground and connect, and that's all in the book, how to do all of that. I give it all in the book. And then we work with whatever process we feel drawn to work with. And also, one of the other reasons why I want accredited it is because I want people to work with children,
yeah,
because the children of now, I have two teenagers. There are such lights in this world, and all the children coming in are pure souls coming in to really help us with ascension, and we need to keep them as pure as possible. So
yeah,
to help them to be the best that they can in this world. And I worked with children all of my career, and there's a particular process in there called color energy clearing, and
yes.
it's so simple to use with children. Just getting them, if they're feeling anything, just getting them to imagine that color, because they don't always want to talk about how they feel, but they can imagine a color,
Mhm.
and they're so switched on and so quick. So yeah, I would love people to choose to be accredited and use it with their clients, use it with their, with children, whatever they want to do. So that's one of the reasons why I just want everyone to know how to heal themselves. And my vision for my book was, I don't know how this is going to happen, but I entered the Hay House competition, the writers competition, and I said, do you know what, Spirit? If you want this out there, I'm just handing it over. And if I hadn't have won a publishing contract, I would have self-published it anyway. But because I won the publishing contract, it held me accountable, Kitty, and I think it made me do
Structures are
it.
good things. Structures are
They
good
they
things.
are
Yeah,
good things. Yeah, they are good things. And I just can I share this one that
sure.
goes with it?
Oh,
So
please
we
do. 'Cause
the
I was
guides,
not aware of it, so I was happy to hear about
yeah, yeah. Well, the guides in the book talk about creating a journal of insight.
it. Hmm.
And this journal of insight is so that you can work with your guides on a daily, weekly, however you want to do it, monthly basis. And so I thought, and the guides channeled to me, let's create one so that you actually have one. So we channeled something, I'll just show it to you. It's called Awaken the Light Within Your Heart Journal of Insight, which you can get exactly. Just put Journal of Insight, Awaken the Light Within Your Heart, or even my name, and you'll find it. And essentially, it's channeled. There's a channeled piece in it for you to read. And then every time you sit down with it, you're asking your guides to come in and you write whatever information you need. So it's really about for your life, for your mission, for your daily life, whatever you need. And it opens up that channel to build a relationship with your guidance and your teams, because that's massively what they want now. And it just makes it easy because I created it for you and you don't have to create one.
I, I,
So
I would, I'll know that that's already on the list too.
Oh, bless
to
you.
add, because what is so important that I have really taken away from it. And when I say I've taken away, I was telling her I actually listened to chapter 12 as a meditation at night. It's just the message from the guides in chapter 12 is how much we are loved, how much we can heal our bodies. And I would be one of the first person to go, really? Can I really do that? And just so there's a break for me in that field. And would you talk a little
Yeah,
bit about the unified field of light? Because that's a little more
sure.
unusual than some of when people talk about self-healing. I mean, the very first, I would say, spiritual book I ever read was You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay.
Oh my goodness, I know. We've all got that, haven't we?
Yeah, right.
Um, yeah, I'm just gonna see if they've got a specific thing. Because I can talk about it, but they can talk about it better. So let me find which chapter it
And
is.
I think I actually wrote a quote. Is that from 12?
39. Yeah,
Yeah,
39.
so I'll read the quote I've written from 12 while you look is
Yeah, thank you.
consciousness is the ability to project your guidance from your soul to your experience in the human form.
Mm.
And that stood out for me. It's highlighted, it's page, because that's the best explanation when we talk about conscious to unconscious to conscious, all of these who are Brett and to, one of my words this year is guidance. And that idea that I could project it to my human form experience, that helps me accept I can heal my body. Because when I become conscious and I talk to it, I consciously then can interact with it.
Sure. And I've got a free video course on my website actually called Awaken the Light. And it's just free. You just click, on my website, susankennard.co.uk, and it's a free video course. One of the videos on it is actually connecting with the messages that your body is trying to tell you. So you
Yeah,
might like
you
that
go
as
into that
well.
quite a bit in the book, so it is
Okay.
wonderful. But the whole
So,
unified field of light is a little more unusual from things that I've read.
yeah,
I think the concept makes so much sense. It kind of pulls all of the
yeah.
other pieces together. In astrology, I talk about it as a circuit, so it is that unified field. So,
The guides are giving it to me clairvoyantly at the moment. I'm going to read this little piece here, but
okay.
what they're showing me is this kind of almost like this circle of light, and we are contained within this whole circle of light, and they are contained within, meaning the guides are contained
Mhm.
within the circle of light, and the animals are, and everything is, and it's all one. But I'm just going to read this little piece. The unified field is what you are all part of. You are connected with this field of light. There is no separation. There is no part of you that is not free. Key, right? No part of you that is not abundant in thought. No part of you that is limited. There is not one part of you that is not connected together within the unified field. And then I'm going to read not one part here about disconnect.
Honestly, folks, there's an amazing amount of information here. Things from soul
Yeah,
contracts to soul missions really
yeah,
helps you understand, or certainly helped me, what I needed to know to deal with my
yeah,
unified field of light. Gave me ways to do it as opposed to very ethereal out there. How do
yeah.
I have a very practical nature. Well, what do I do? So,
Yeah, so how do we remember, you ask? This
mhm.
is the guides. How do you remember, we ask? You look outside at your reflection, your outside world. This is your knowing. You can see that there are things, people, places that are in joy, they're in the joy vibration, and there are things that are not. The things that are not of the vibration of love. That doesn't mean that these people are not kind or loving. It just means that they are not reflecting the essence of true mission and love. Everyone has come for their own unique reason for being here, their own unique reason to serve and spread their light. I'm just trying to see if there's anything
Well,
more
and then
about
you
this
also have a mirror
Puma.
you have, so if that's something that you wonder about, she has a mirror process too in the
I
back
do.
that you can take a look at. Well, let me feel. And when I read that, I went to it. And what
Yeah.
an amazing way to step into,
Your light body.
right,
Hmm.
to
Yeah.
really take a look at, um, for me, it helps me with when I'm caught in a judgment and that something is pulling on me, that mirror process of, wait a minute, what is it? Because I know all of us for months across many spiritual platforms have been talking about hold what you want to see it as real. It is real because in this big transition we're in, that is how we're going to multiply it. That's how we'll remember. So,
Yes. Yeah. And what was coming to me then was this feeling of, when we remember that this is a physical jacket that we've got right now, but we take this jacket off, underneath is just pure light. And that soul, pure light, knows exactly why we're here. It has no judgment. Who are you talking about? No judgment, no criticism, no fear, no worries about anything. And then we put the jacket back on, and the jacket, the physical body, contains all of that we've experienced and beyond. And that's how we play our role in this world. And definitely we're a work in progress, and I really believe that. And I think no one can ever, least of all me, talk about having everything perfect, because I think if we did, then why would we be here? It's the soul's journey of expansion constantly,
to awaken the heart, the light in the heart. And one of the things, there's a wonderful work in there about setting intentions. And I
Mm,
created an intention I had never thought of before, just around what you talked about. When I remove this suit, this jacket,
mhm,
I'm going to cry. I want to look back at it and say, thank you for everything you did for me. That's
mm.
an intention I'm setting. So it's really about a level of consciousness about this physical body along with the soul, that they are understanding they're loved equally. It's not, I mean, I have been mistaken in my life that, oh, my soul, my soul, my soul. But I chose this for a reason. So let me figure that piece out. So
And
it,
I think that's one of the hardest things being human, is actually understanding that your body does the best it can for you at all times, and
mhm,
it never does anything, against you. And so once, when we are listening to the barometer of our soul, which is our body, when we're listening to this barometer, we're saying, okay, so thank you so much for showing me that.
mhm,
Thank you so much for showing me that
yes,
ache and pain. Thank you so much for showing me that. What do I need to heal around me? What emotion is that I need to heal? And I think that's when we're no longer in separation to our body. Our
right,
mind is not separate from our, we know this obviously, we're not separate from our mind, body, and our soul. And the medical model, as much as we need the medical model, there is a concept that mind is separate from body. We'll
right,
forget the soul, but mind is separate from body, right? So we treat the body with a symptom, but we're not treating the true essence of who we are and listening to why that symptom is there. But I just do a little disclaimer: I'm not a doctor and I do not claim to heal or cure. I'm just saying I know who we are, and I know that we came in to know when we were out of alignment with unconditional love and our mission. And we said to ourselves, how am I going to know? Well, you're going to know because your body is going to tell you.
and that is important. That at each moment I remember to,
Mm.
there's where the judgment is. I get out of judging, well, this is more important or that is more important. It's
Yeah,
all important. So
it's
when my
all important.
body is telling me to slow down,
Hmm.
it's my soul telling me to slow down.
It
Even if
is,
it
Kitty.
is really my soul telling me. So And
Yeah.
unfortunately, we have to start to wrap this up because
I
my
know.
amazing friend has her next thing to go to. And I,
My
is,
group to run.
yes, is there anything you want to make sure you say about the book to people, or that you want them to understand, um, or that kind of spirit leads you? I
Yeah.
find this an amazing work personally. So,
Thank you. It feels like life's work. So
mhm,
as much as I channeled it, and it's an experience over many years, the work in here, I actually feel like it is life's work, and it is who I truly am. And so what I feel the book gives is an essence of, for anyone. So whether you are just starting out on your spiritual journey and you just want to kind of understand a bit more about who you are, or whether you are like you are, Kitty, fully in your mission, fully knowing who you are, actually it's for everybody. And I do feel myself that I'm constantly being reminded that I feel so humbled that I have a direct connection to my guides and I can see them and hear them and so on. I always feel humbled. I never take it for granted. And I do feel that once we awaken this light, it's important to stay in that and stay in that essence of, we volunteered to come here to open the door, and everyone who's listening to that has also volunteered to come and open the door. If they're listening to this conversation with you and I, there's no mistake. And
no,
so this book, I hope, my intention for this book was to reach as many people in the world as I can, so that they remember who they are, they remember that they can heal themselves, and they remember that they've got a really important mission here right now.
awaken that light in the heart. I think what I feel the book can give all of us, especially those of us, if you're seeing this, who it's coming up,
Yeah.
um, is kind of a way to approach working with each other and understanding that we are all not just a level playing field, we are literally all together on that field. And that's that unified field of light. So
Yeah.
thank you
Yeah, that's
so much.
beautiful.
I,
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. And stay tuned for the dates around the book studies. And I will be
Yeah.
storing this so we can access it. Thank you
I'm
so much.
happy to answer questions as well. So if you do, if you
You
have
heard her. She'll come back and talk to us about it.
yeah,
So,
I'm happy to answer questions, because sometimes, people read things and it's like, well, tell me about that. Why, what does that mean? What's that? And sometimes it's better for me just to tune in with the guides and just say, okay, well, how can I answer that? So I'm happy to do that.
well, thank you again.
Thank
Blessings
you.
and
Thank
enjoy
you for
this
inviting me.
March. So, take
I'm
care.
so excited about March, to be honest, and
I'm very
April. I think
excited.
it's, yeah,
So,
amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Much love.
bye bye, everyone. Namaste.